In this video, I'm going to share with you some insights, some strategies in selling your home in a shifting market, because many areas of the country is seeing an environment where inventory is climbing and it's not going to be as easy to sell your home, and you want to make sure you still get top dollar. So you're going to want to address these items that I'm sharing with you today. As a reminder, I'm Mike Thornton. I run a top team here in the western suburbs of Chicago. If you're looking to make a move here or want to connect with us, my information's in the description below. And don't forget, if you find this helpful, like and subscribe so we can stay connected with future videos. So the first thing to do as a seller, if you're getting ready to sell in the shifting market, is to declutter and depersonalize your home. I know this is tough, but really what I tell my sellers is you're going to be a prisoner in your own house for a little bit. And if you do it right, you're not going to have to do it for very long. That first thing is important because buyers have that first impression. They whip over to that front door, and that first 10 or 15 seconds is very, very important. There's actually studies on this, but many buyers make that decision within a few seconds, whether they're into a home or not. Now, if you whip it open and you see this giant gallery wall of family photos, that's going to be a problem because it's just hard for buyers to envision themselves in that space. It seems like a little thing. It seems like they should be able to get past that. But trust me, after showing thousands of homes at this point, they really do have trouble envisioning their stuff in a certain space. So the more you can strip out any sort of distractions, I'm not somebody that says you need to take down every single family photo, but if it's a feature of a room, like that example, having a gallery wall of all your kids, that might be something you definitely want to take down. Put up some different type of artwork, something that's really neutral for people to help envision them in that space. Decluttering is also important. You want to make sure that you highlight the flow of a given room and what's possible in a given room as far as like seating, things like that, but you don't want to distract people from overall function of that space. So if you have additional seats that aren't necessary, you have nightstands all over the place, you have lamps all over the place, like that is, believe it or not, distracting to a buyer. So we want to basically go in and take out, I'd say 30-40% of the items in a given home to then layer in certain accessories to really maximize that space. But we really do, in most cases, want sellers to take items out so that we can really focus on the flow of that space, make it seem bigger than it may be with all the other furniture in that room. And we want to give that room the best possible chance to shine and present itself in a good possible light. So the next thing you want to do is you want to clean carpets if you have them. That's a big one, especially if you have pets. People walk in and they can sense that right away. If you have pets and that carpet is just kind of smells a little bit musty, things like that, you definitely want to clean those carpets if you have them. It's a no-brainer. And if you're not going to clean them, then consider replacing them. The next thing you want to do along the same lines is you want to deep clean the entire house. Buyers in many instances are just really nervous on what they're getting ready to purchase. And so if you can give them a good sense of that you've taken great care of that home, it's super clean, you have pride and ownership, that's going to help them settle down a little bit because they are nervous about what they can't see. And that gives them confidence that you really took care of that home, you keep it up, and that you have a very clean home, and that makes them feel really good. So for a few $100, and many realtors actually have that, I shouldn't say many, some, we do have that as part of our service for sellers to actually go in and deep clean the property. The next thing you want to do after deep cleaning the property is you want to have a really great realtor come in and actually stage your home. So we've already talked about decluttering, so you might be thinking, well, why are you going to put stuff back in? We are only going to optimize each space, and we're going to layer in accessories that make maybe a colder room warm up a little bit, or we're going to just make sense of all the spaces. We're going to arrange furniture so that, again, rooms seem large, but you're still getting a sense of how that room functions, and we're just optimizing everything. Accessorizing is really important, those final details, putting some fresh towels out. Maybe there's San Pellegrino on the counter. You're making these little vignettes of spaces that look really cozy, nice little moments throughout. So that's really where the staging comes in. And then followed by the staging, the next thing you want to do is make sure you're working with an agent that has really, really great photography and video, because that video is going to help with that emotional response. So that video is what we like to use personally to get the word out, because there's nothing like putting music to it and sending it out where people can like, wow, that's crazy. Like, look at that. It looks so beautiful. It just hits differently than listing photos. So you need both, because people are filtering online and like a Zillow, things like that as well. So you need beautiful photos, but that video is really what you should be using to share with family and friends. You should be sharing that in the Facebook groups, sharing that on, the realtor's social media following. And also you could use that for ads to then get, outside of your organic reach out to people that you might feel like could be your buyer. Here in the western suburbs of Chicago, a lot of times you might actually target city people, because we know there's a big contingent of people moving out of the city to the suburbs. All right, the next thing you want to do outside of cleaning, staging, decluttering, depersonalizing is you want just to get a sense of how your curb appeal is. Curb appeal is really important. again, back to that same point, hitting it a third time, is people have that emotional response right out of the gates, and that can make or break how they feel about that home. And so anything that's involved in the first impression of the home, we really want sellers to hit out of the park. So that's landscaping, that's a spring or fall cleanup, that's having the grass mowed, that's having fresh flowers potentially, that's having, maybe it's the fall and you have some mums out on the front porch and you really create this really inviting entranceway. And then obviously as you walk in the house, everything we've already discussed, you want that first impression to shine. But let's have that curb appeal also show your pride in ownership, show how cleanly of a house that you keep, and really hit that out of the park, because it's not really that expensive and it goes a long way. All right, next thing you want to do is really now getting into safeguarding the transaction. So where we are here in Chicagoland, one of the things that's sometimes hard for buyers is when they go to do their inspection, depending on the time of year, an inspector either really can't test the AC unit or they can't test the furnace because they're not going to kick on the AC if it's 20 degrees outside, because it can actually ruin the unit. And so you're really just trusting that that unit works. As a seller, you can actually do a great service to yourself and that buyer to service your AC when the time comes in that year leading in, and service the furnace, so that when that buyer is a little bit freaked out on whether that actually works or not, you can provide them a clean bill of health. Hey, we had it serviced every year for the last few years, or we had it serviced a few months ago when we could still test it, and here's what they recommended, here's what we did, we're all good. That just gives that buyer peace of mind, because trust me, they are freaking out. They probably just got an inspection report that's 80 pages long, and the last thing they want to worry about is whether your AC unit actually works or not, especially if it's 20 years old. So that's a no-brainer. Just get ahead of it. And then lastly, along the same lines, is better than anybody else what the deal killers are, and you need to get ahead of those deal killers. They could be things that aren't really that big of a deal, but a buyer will make them a big deal. The classic one I'm thinking about is, let's just say you have a hairline crack in your foundation, you get a teeny bit of seepage, nothing that you ever have to clean up, but it's something that you see kind of pool at the bottom of an unfinished storage area, you wipe it with a cloth, no big deal. Problem is, that's actually a disclosable item, something you should be telling the buyer about, and they can make it a way bigger deal than it actually is. They're not going to have any idea. They could be thinking, oh my gosh, this thing floods, we have foundation issues, all these different things. And if you were just to spend $500 to have that epoxied, and that crack would have a lifetime guarantee with it, it would never have any issues again, you could completely ease the mind of that buyer. You rectify the issue so that there's actually not a disclosure issue. I'm not an attorney, but at least that's how that works here in Chicagoland, where it's been rectified. It actually isn't anything that you have to disclose going forward. And that allows you to have a clean disclosure, allows you to kind of ease the mind of the buyer and not even have to really go through that hurdle and bring that up when the buyer is at their highest stress level, reviewing that inspection report with 40, 50 other items that they're kind of worried about. So those are the things that you want to take care of, that you want to look into. A great realtor can help you with a handful of those. Some of those you would take upon yourself potentially to get that house ready to sell. And again, that is to help maximize your proceeds from a given sale. Again, Mike Thornton, Chicagoland. If you need anything, if you're interested in our market, give us a shout out. We'd love to hear from you.